you should ask for people's advice and offer to pay $500. What I want to build is a fintech or a bank that serves 1 billion people. So in 1 line or 2 lines, ideally you need to, there's hundreds of great founders out there. You just need 5 of them to connect with you.
So who are some of the people that replied to you?
Yeah, Steve Wozniak, Justin Kahn, Tom Blomfield, Harry Stebbings, investor. And I was like, what if I send this guy gulab jamun to his door?
What's the most important thing in your message to the person?
It's the hook. There's nothing more important.
Welcome back to Those Who Build, a podcast focused on listening to some of the best startup founders out there. We will learn from their insights and tips of the trade, whilst also hearing about the mistakes and how we can avoid them. In this episode, we'll be speaking with Dev. Dev moved from New Zealand to London to continue building his startup. After selling his first company back in New Zealand, he's venturing out into the fintech space in London. We learn how Dev is the master of the cold email. Dev has the ability like no one I have ever seen to grow his network. If you've ever worried about building a network or getting in touch with someone, in this episode, Dev will tell you exactly how he did it. And this is how I learned how to do it as well. So stay tuned and listen along. Hey Dev, what are you building and why?
Hey Jay, I've built an app that helps people invest into 24-karat gold globally across India, New Zealand, and Turkey to 250,000 users in the last year alone. And we're now pivoting to helping people save 5 to 10 grand in their bank account within 6 months.
That's awesome. Why are you doing that?
Essentially, when I grew up, I had a lot of friends who could access tutoring, who could access a lot more help through their parents, or they had parents who were more educated and whatnot. In my case, my parents didn't have the money. I was 16 years old and a trolley boy running trolleys around a supermarket or a grocery store, and to earn extra money. And just don't want anyone to be in the position where they can't get ahead just because money is a barrier. And that can be fixed if their parents teach them how to invest, budget, save, and be financially educated.
So you came over to the UK only recently. You came all the way from New Zealand. You didn't know a single person here. How did you even start to think about building a network?
Yeah, I tend to think business first. And so I didn't make friends here first. I met investors and mentors here first. I once got told this strategy by someone called Rob Blue, who's the owner of a company called Contact Out that helps you essentially find people's emails, kind of like Zoom info. And he just essentially said you should ask for people's advice and offer to pay $500. And that shows that you're serious. And these people can be whoever. In my case, it was someone who's been part of what I want to build. And what I want to build is a fintech or a bank that serves 1 billion people.
You're not worried about spending 500 on a call? Did you ever have to?
No. The theory is that if someone doesn't need the money, they won't ask for it. So it's a bluff and a gamble, and people have asked for it. And unfortunately, I didn't ever have the money to pay them 500.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's things like Intro right now that you can pay for people's time, and it might be worth it. But
okay,
my core belief is that you can get a lot of help just by asking.
Yeah, I found the same. I think in the founder sphere, everyone wants to help. Everyone's been there before. So tell me, how do you go about writing that cold email?
I think even stepping back and how you make the pick on what type of person to contact really matters. So not only do you look at where they work or where they have worked, ideally you want it to be someone who's ex-Monzo or ex-Revolut, so they don't feel like there's a conflict of interest. But within that, the title really matters. So in my case, it was product and founders, because that's the ones who I connected with most. If you're someone who's a financially driven, like great with Excel sheets or great with operations or great with design, then perhaps you're better off connecting with someone who's got a design background or an operations background. But in my case, it was product or being a founder. So I actually went after founders and product people. So ex-CPOs, ex-founders who tend to lead product. Once you have that person, you then want to kind of break your email into 3 different points. You can firstly just have a quick line that says, hey, just need 30 seconds of your time, or this will be quick, or something that indicates that this isn't going to be a long email and I promise it'll be worth your time.
Hmm.
The second point is establishing credibility and introducing who you are. So in 1 line or 2 lines, ideally, you need to break down who you are. So in my case, it would often be different depending on the type of email I'm sending. If it's a founder, it's more personal. If it's a ex-C-suite, it's more work-related. So in, say, the ex-CPO's case, it would be, hey, I'm building the plump for New Zealand. We've already got our first 1,000 users. We started 2 months ago. I'd love to chat about your experience at Plump. And the following line would be, happy to pay $500 for your time. That's it. In the case of a founder, the only difference would be that I tend to stray away from traction or credibility like metrics. One, I don't have the same credibility that a lot of people might have. Like I don't have the I went to Stanford, or I don't have the I worked at Goldman. And so for me, I have to find something from nothing. And I think everyone has something. It's just down to the personal story. Everyone in life generally has some interesting, unique angle about themselves.
Yeah.
In my case, my personal bullet points tend to be around being on X Factor, building New Zealand's biggest suit company. Other things I tend to say tend to be around my personal interests, like gaming, like MapleStory, World of Warcraft, helping build my dad's furniture business to second in New Zealand, so on and so forth. It can be different for different people. Like I helped a friend write this email, a common friend of ours, and his was around weight loss, rapid weight loss, and that itself is an achievement. You're essentially looking for, in whatever you write in that second line, if it's for work or if it's work related or if it's personally related, essentially the person is seeing, if I give you my time right now, are you someone who is capable of performing at high levels in some way or the other? Or are you interesting, or do we have a shared interest that I feel like chatting about? That's the old school, like, oh, you also went to this school? I also went to this school. Oh, you like gaming? I also like gaming.
And why do you think that common interest is important?
At least you know there'll be something good to chat about.
Yep. Cool.
There's literally no other reason. Or it's about giving back to a particular community you belong to. For some reason, even though I might not know who this person is, but they played the same game as me growing up as a kid.
Yeah.
That nostalgia hits in my psychology, and I feel like
There's a
connecting
connection
with
there.
them.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So we've learned how you go about writing cold emails. Obviously, they're not going to reply to you on the first one, or some people will, but majority of times people won't reply to you. How do you make sure that you get a reply from your emails?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say depending on the type of email and the type of person, like if they get bombarded a lot, then sure, your hit rate will be even lower, like sometimes 3%. So one is just volume, and two is picking people. Like think of it like a pyramid, and you have to find who's at the top of the pyramid. And to get to the top of the pyramid, you might not want to shoot your shot right at the top straight away. It's harder. It's not impossible. Like I would never have expected to get a reply from Steve Wozniak or Tom Blomfield. But you can do it. But the point is that I didn't just send my email to Steve Wozniak or Tom Blomfield. I sent my email to at least hundreds of people. There's hundreds of great founders out there. You just need 5 of them to connect with you. So yeah, volume. And then the other strategy is I met a bunch of fintech CEOs through executives who were close to them while they were working there. So the right-hand man of the person you want to meet, essentially.
Yeah, and that goes you saying you don't have to contact the founder right away. So
right,
you're being an expert of writing those cold emails. So who are some of the people that reply to you?
Yeah, Steve Wozniak, Justin Kahn, Tom Blomfield, Harry Stebbings, investor, bunch of famous investors, bunch of people at Sequoia, some 2-3 Indian billionaires like this guy called Bala.
What did they say to you? Like what did Steve Wozniak say to you, or what did Tom Blomfield say to you?
Yeah, I mean it's funny because out of those, half were duds, but like Steve Wozniak, his wife replied, and she said, how did you get my email? Sorry, Steve doesn't take something personal calls. Tom Blomfield said something about only focusing on Y Combinator. Justin Kahn replied, and I took him on a date. Harry Stebbings replied and eventually gave me his WhatsApp number, and we got chatting on WhatsApp about the business.
And it's not always cold emails that you do, right? Like you can also LinkedIn message, you can tweet at people. But I know a pretty unconventional story about how you got in contact with one of them. I wonder if you want to share it.
Yeah, Harry Stebbings was an interesting one. So Harry Stebbings was someone I wanted to meet because I have been listening to his podcast for a long time, 20 BC, and I was on my 2-week trip to London for the first time, 42-hour flight, 42-hour travel time from Auckland to London, and I'm on my way from Helsinki, researching every fintech investor I can find in London, and trying to cold DM them, or email them, and like I do with ex-fintech operators. And I happened to come across this tweet thread he's having with what seems like a friend or another investor or founder, I'm not sure. And they're talking about how Harry Stebbings likes gulab jamun, or that, hey, you better send me that gulab jamun from this shop. And I thought to myself, this somehow reminded me of this story that you used to hear back in the day where people used to give a donut box and their CV inside the donut box. And I was like, what if I send this guy gulab jamun to his door and put a note inside somehow? And the first thing was finding his address. And I was like, okay, how do I send gulab jamun? I didn't even have the time to figure out like how to get to his house or whatnot. Would it be creepy if I showed up? So I instead just got on Deliveroo, got on Uber Eats, figured out his whatever was closest to his address, and sent some gulab jamun. I was furiously texting the delivery driver saying, "Hey, make sure you knock and say happy birthday," because it was his birthday around that time as well. And he wasn't there. In fact, no one was there. And he left it outside the house. I emailed him saying, "I've sent gulab jamun to your door." No reply. 3 emails, gulab jamun sent, nothing. I saw he was active on Twitter, so I tweeted him saying, "Crazy that you can't even get through to Harry Stebbings even if you send gulab jamun to his house." And he replied, he was laughing because he thought it was crazy that someone would do this, and eventually got in touch. Realized that wasn't his address. That was his one of his relatives' address, and eventually got his address, sent him gulab jamun to his actual address, and had to DM him on Twitter at least like 30 times before getting his number and chatting to him about the business.
That's awesome. Like, that's one of those founder stories that we'll listen to or we'll go back on in like 10 to 20 years time. And it just shows that like sometimes the email doesn't work every single time, right? You've got to be there. You got to be consistent. You got to do your research. And that's the thing that I don't know about you is like when people email and try and get in touch and build a network, I see so many founders just carpet bomb the same email to the same person. And I don't know what you think about this, but I've never found that actually works. Even with the follow-ups, it's like just chasing this up. Who's going to reply to that?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's very few emails that can get away with copy pasting, unless the email itself is very, very unique. The issue becomes that strategy then quickly gets absorbed and then it turns into a spam email. So yeah, way better to do personalized stuff. But for sure, you won't get replies even if you do personalized stuff. It just takes numbers and a lot of persistence across channels. Like there's even small things like your email might be ending up in spam.
Yeah.
So why think that it's purely your email copy? Instead, try and message through multiple channels.
And how do you determine if how do you determine if it's the right amount to email someone? So what I mean by that is you've tried to get in contact with this person on email, Twitter, LinkedIn, Deliveroo, whatever, but some people might be shy of trying to get in contact with someone if they assume, they didn't reply to me after my first email. That means they don't want to talk to me. Or someone sent 20 follow-up emails to the same person and been in a situation they don't reply. How do you determine that, and what do you do about that?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit on the persistent side of things. So I tend to push the boundaries maybe more than people should, and be a bit more annoying. But I actually don't think that's, I don't think it's an issue. I think it's an issue when someone's told you clearly that they don't want to chat, and you at that point then decide not to pester them. Like with Tom Blomfield, he said that, hey, my focus is on Y Combinator. Now, I could say that, I could argue that that's his excuse for not wanting to chat right now, because my story was not compelling enough, or my pitch is not compelling enough. My reason for meeting is not compelling enough. But he's clearly told me this indication of, let's not continue this further at this point. And so then my view is, unless I come back to him with something extremely compelling or that fits his given criteria, I will not bother him.
Okay.
But if I haven't heard back, who knows? Maybe his EA is opening it up and just not replying, or maybe it's going to spam, or who knows? So keep at it. I don't care if it's 30 emails. Eventually they'll reply and say no if they want to.
And do you think that everyone's accessible? Do you think
anyone is accessible? Literally anyone. I mean, think about it. Even if they have an EA, you know the fact that they have an EA.
Yeah.
And you just have to play around that. I mean, I was waiting outside Revolut's door and I saw the CEO. I was having a break or lunch right outside the Revolut office, and he just shows up, and I ran up to him. He probably thought that I was going to tackle him or something, but just ran up to him.
And what did he?
And pitched in 30 seconds, and then he said to get in touch, and he gave me his email.
That's awesome. Did he reply to you after?
No. So he just gave it. I guess he just gave it like a way to avoid because his EA. Well, also I don't know, because his EA is the one who's checking his emails. So
yeah,
not sure.
There's going to be a barrier to entry, whatever it is, right? Like whether it's like an EA or whether it's like Twitter and someone gets down to a message, you gotta make yourself stand out, right? You gotta make yourself like compelling enough to do that, and it's no
100%.
Get back in touch with someone. So
yeah,
how would you advise someone with no network at all? They say they're just starting out. What would you do?
I guess find out the other players in your industry. I'd make a list of maybe 30 or 40 founders that inspire you. Ideally not exact competitors. I think that was one issue with Revolut, and a bunch that it was too close as well, possibly. Make a list of 50 founders, make a list of 50 ex-executives at these firms. The way you can do that is through LinkedIn Recruiter Lite. Get a free trial for 7 days. Just use that and contact out. And then just start sending these emails. You can use an automated tool like a Woodpecker or a Smart Lead, and then just automate it so that it sends follow-ups as well. And if you want to personalize it, I'd say you can do it for the founders, and maybe do 10 to 20 at a time, because otherwise it's hard to maintain the momentum. And try and find something about them that's interesting. This is like a very common strategy, but for me, it worked obviously through Harry Stebbings. And if you can't, then you have to make sure your hook is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a compelling reason why you're interesting to chat to, or why it'll be worth their time to chat. Whether that's them learning something, or whether that your idea is so interesting that they just want to know about it or hear about it. You might be at the frontier of technology and they might be curious. Whatever it is, there has to be an interesting reason to chat. You have to be interesting for some reason or the other. In some case, sometimes your personal story is. So I'd say make 2 variations or 3 variations of your email and test it with your non-favorite founders, like founders you'd still love to chat to, or executives you'd still love to chat to, but they aren't your top picks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's say you pick someone that you want to contact. How do you start about contacting them?
If you're in the same country as them, you could probably show up at their office or at their door. That is one way.
Fastest way to get a restraining order from
it's worked for Justin Khan. It hasn't worked for Nick from Revolut.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you just got to see channels that they're active on. So in Harry Stebbings' case, it was a lot of Twitter. I could tell that some tweets were written by him and some were written by his team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that he still uses Twitter himself. It's not just repurposed content that some social media manager is posting across every single channel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I literally tweeted at him. So you can make a LinkedIn post about someone, you could make a Twitter post about someone, or you could tweet at them. You could try DMing, but DMing I think has lower success rates. Again, it comes back to like, is your hook good enough?
What's the most important thing in your message to the person?
It's the hook. There's nothing more important. And hook is, I mean, if you think about fishing, which is where it comes from, it's when the hook actually sticks into the fish. It's the thing that allows you to actually capture the fish. And in this case, it's the thing that the person reading the email or the message or the content, they see the thing that is interesting and they want to read on, or they want to see more. It's the cliffhanger at the end of the page. It's the cliffhanger at the end of the TV show. It's the thing that makes you want to keep going because it's caught your attention. So essentially it's something that catches people's attention and then makes them want to continue.
I don't suppose you've got an example of one you've used?
Yeah, so for Tom Blomfield, I saw that he was going kite surfing on Twitter, and I used that as a subject line of my email. And I said, I can't kite surf, but I'd love to have something about, I'd love to get your advice. The point was the advice part doesn't matter here. It's the kite surfing, because he tweeted about kite surfing an hour back. And I know that he's into kite surfing, that he's asking a question about kite surfing. It was such a specific question as a subject line to ask someone who's literally tweeted about that an hour back.
Nice. I think that's been some great advice. I think it's really important for people to grow their networks as founders. It's who you know at the end of the day. But to finish off, what's one piece of advice you'd give to your younger self starting out again?
I think the number one thing has generally been to trust myself and believe in my own ability, as opposed to constantly asking for advice. It in fact trains the brain to think through first principles a lot more. Constantly reading articles. It's like, I mean, it's the classic old thing of like, you can read as much as you want about a driving manual, but it's not the same as doing that first part. Like you might hit the curb, but until you do it, it's just not going to stick and it's not going to play out. And then the second thing would be, you can do a lot more than you think with your own resources. You don't need all the resources you think you need. You just need the willpower to keep pushing through the madness and through the chaos.
Which is the life of a founder.
That is it.
Yeah. This has been awesome, Dev. Thank you for coming on. Yeah, I'm excited to see who you end up talking to next.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you.
Cool. Speak to you later. Bye.
Later. Bye.